Sweet, okay. Right. So, hello and welcome to another episode of Jay's Big Chat with me, your host, Jermaine, aka Jay. And joining me to talk about the big topic that is alcohol, we've got Dec, Liz, and that's mine. Right. Sorry, we've got Dec, Liz, and Katie. So, guys, we're literally just going to dive straight into this, I guess, broad topic that is alcohol. So I guess what is this substance? Why is it so, why is it such an addictive substance? Anyone, whoever wants to kind.
Can you hear me, Jay? Or
yeah,
okay, yeah. Well, I suppose what it is that is exactly what it is. It is just an addictive substance. You've just nailed it right there.
Yeah.
It is a drug. It is like the most commonly used drug. It's the most available drug that you can get. It's completely mainstream. And I think because it is so mainstream is what makes it so dangerous, because it's so accessible to everybody and it's so ingrained in our society and our culture globally.
Yeah.
That it's that's half the problem. I read somewhere that if alcohol was created now, it would certainly not be legal because it's just so dangerous. And addictive.
Yeah. I mean, just to touch on what you said, like that word drug, because a lot of people don't see alcohol as a drug, do they? You kind of say, do you take any drugs or do you do drugs? And it's like, no, but you drink. But you sort of use the word drug to kind of associate with.
Yeah. I think it's because, like I said, it's clever marketing. There's so much. I mean, what the government earn off alcohol a year in tax is unbelievable. Which is why they will never ban it. That's why I'm so passionate about people having an education around it, because you have to self-educate because it's not taught, and it is so dangerous and it damages so many, not people just individually, but like communities and families, and addiction is so huge across every drug. But I do, especially because obviously I'm going to say this because it's affected my life drastically. Like, I'm 25 and sober, so obviously I'm going to say that, but I do think it's more commonly misused than people let on, because they don't know. I mean, how many times have you been to the GP and lied about how many units of alcohol you drink a week? Everyone does it. I get such a buzz now and I'm like, 0.
I know, I love doing that as well. And you're like, do I get a special badge or something?
Yeah.
I think another thing, like you were just saying about it being part of culture and ingrained in like everything, is, drinks over the years, as you grow up, it's normal. Like you'd use champagne to celebrate weddings, prosecco, birthdays. If you're to go out to a horse racing event, example, you know you're going to be sipping the bubbles. And I think that misuse like creeps up on people. They think that you're going to be like that person in the film that's all bubbly and like all fun, and then eventually it just crashes down on you. And I think that's the thing that is, especially myself, that's what caught me out over the years. I thought, you were in control, and eventually it like gets control of you, I think.
I think that's the thing. I think it's the way it creeps up on people that's the insidious bit. And it is because what you get with alcohol is an instant feel good factor for about that first 20 minutes, half an hour. You do get that kind of rush of endorphins, and the dopamine is kind of, all of those synapses are kicking in, and you do get a drug reaction, which is why you've got to remember it is a drug. It's having that effect on your brain. And then that kind of like positive feedback loop becomes so ingrained, and your brain is totally trained to search for good feelings. So it's totally natural that you would go back to that. And before you know it, you
Yeah.
are, it's, let's call it a habit rather than an addiction, because a lot of people are just habitually having a glass of wine every night.
Of
They
course,
wouldn't
yeah.
call themselves alcoholics.
Mm.
But it's so ingrained, isn't it? There are so many people I know who are drinking every day and just think of that as a very normal way to be.
Yeah, like part of the routine. I remember when I worked in the motor trade, someone I worked with described to me that they'd go home, have a glass of wine,
Yeah.
almost every evening. And
Yeah.
I remember at the time going, "Oh, what? You must go through 2 bottles a week, and well, that's really bad for you." But the irony of it was, I was then going out on a Saturday night and probably drinking just as much, but in one evening.
Yeah.
So both sides of us were thinking that what we were doing was the acceptable thing, but actually, it's bad on both parts.
Yeah, I think it depends on the way that you use it, because some people, like you just said, there's like they'll have a glass a night, and they use it as their crutch to unwind or like de-stress at the end of a stressful day. But like you, I don't know your story, Liz, but like for me and you, Dec, it's like we only saved it for weekends, so it was binge drinking, so we used it to socialize. I never had a glass of wine to wind down. Like I'd always say, "Oh, what a waste." Like,
Yeah.
It was to get me going.
It was to get me drunk. I drank to get drunk, and I think in the end, but then I suppose there's an argument for both. Which the reason I stopped drinking was because of my mental health. So if you're drinking one glass of wine a night, then is that a problem?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the thing, because I mean, my answer to that would be, it's a problem if you feel that you have to have it every night. And if you feel like that's, like you used the word crutch, and I think that is how so many people see it. It's something that, for me, I was more than a glass of wine every night, and then a lot more at weekends. So I was doing everything you've just said about the getting myself going and the binging at the weekend, and I was doing the thing in the week too. So I was covering all the bases.
Yeah.
It's the sort of necessity. That's the thing. So I think even if you have one glass of wine a night and nothing else, I still think it's that need in your mind. I've got to have that glass of wine.
Yeah.
That's the negative bit, isn't it? I think.
Yeah. It's like, do you guys mind if we get a little bit, I guess, personal with some stories? Because obviously, this isn't oh my gosh, whoever is drinking is a bad person and everyone needs to, you should all be ashamed of yourself for drinking, be like me, isn't it? Just because obviously, you're here for, you sort of made it to this kind of stage in your life for a particular reason, and people get there. I mean, you're all different ages, but people get there at different times. Some never get there because they don't want to, or because they haven't, as you said before, the education just isn't there. So would you guys like share some personal stories, either to do with yourselves or individuals that or anything like that?
Yeah, sorry, Dec.
No, God. I've got a whole catalogue of bad memories.
Yeah. How long have you got?
Let's go. Wheel them off. Let's do it.
Okay. Well, I'll start with the reason I gave up alcohol is because two main sort of like things for me were, one is my dad was an alcoholic, and he died when he was 52 of liver shutdown, kidney shutdown.
Right. Yeah.
So, and he had always been an alcoholic all my life, and I grew up with, he was a fun alcoholic. He was a fun drinker. He wasn't aggressive or anything like that. He was a very funny guy, but always a big drinker. He kind of trained me to drink. So at 14, I'd come home from school and he'd pour me a glass of wine because, he didn't want to drink on his own. So I had that. And then even 14 years after he died, I'm now 44, I still hadn't kind of worked out that I might also, kind of follow in his footsteps until I sort of one day was thinking to myself, I wanted to have a drink at about midday.
Yeah.
And I started to go, I'm not going to have a drink at midday, but I'd actually quite like one, and I started to think I'm going to turn into him. So for me, I stopped long before I probably would have qualified as an alcoholic, but I just knew that I was going down that road. So I had that sort of experience really that made me.
What made you believe that you were going down that road? Like, what was,
It was the relationship I had with alcohol in my head.
Right, okay.
Every day, all the time, I was having conversations with alcohol, and I just didn't want it in my life anymore.
But did it happen? Did the conversation then convert into you actually drinking?
Yeah, it did a lot. I mean, I wouldn't drink before sort of evening. Occasionally I did. I'm a songwriter, and sometimes I would sort of like, to kind of lubricate my mind, which I now realise was stupid. I would go, I'll have a little shot or something to get myself in the creative space. But mostly I did wait until the evening. I probably didn't drink as much as a lot of people do, but I would drink maybe a bottle of wine a night. And a lot of people drink that and don't think they've got a problem. But because I had that example from my dad, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was the thing that made me go, I think that is where I'll end up. So that's kind of like, was kind of quite good, really, because I think that had I not had that example, I would have ended up a lot worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's me.
That's interesting you say that, because my dad's an alcoholic as well. But he stopped drinking 32 years ago.
Wow.
So I've never known him, even my mum's never seen him sip a drink of alcohol.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So he's like my sober hero. But I, similarly to you, I feel like I've stopped before I went down. I felt it going that way, and so have decided to stop. Because I truly believe that you don't have to be, that bad to stop. You just stop whenever you want to stop, don't you? So you don't have to wait till you literally lost it all. Like, I prefer to stop while you've still got everything.
Totally.
That's what I was thinking when I was contemplating stopping, is like, why wait until I've lost like my job and all my friends and my boyfriend? May as well just stop now. So that's exactly what I did. But so it's just interesting that that's similar hereditary wise. But I stopped last November. I had stopped the year before. No, the first time I stopped was 3 months in 2018, because my mental health was shocking.
Yeah.
And it was making me very unproductive and low self-esteem and just not a good place mentally. So I stopped for 3 months and loved it. It was hard, but I loved it. I mean, I even went on a girls' holiday with like 7 of my girlfriends who literally drank morning, noon and night, and I still loved it.
And you managed to not drink during that time. That's great. Well done.
Thanks. And I had a great time, but what's mental is that I came back from that holiday, and then like on the day that I had sort of done my 3 months, I was like, okay, even though I loved it, I was like, okay, I'll go drink now. I'll go and celebrate with a glass of prosecco.
Crazy.
Mental.
But it's so hard, isn't it? Because everywhere you look, everyone is saying it's normal, and you're not normal.
Yeah. And it was funny because all my friends that were so supportive of me not drinking, once I'd done the 3 months, they were the ones going, oh, you weren't that bad. I was like, wait, what? I'm so confused. 3 months ago you were telling me I was a nightmare. So I'm like, wait, what?
It's confusing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so confusing. So anyway, then I drank again for 10 months, and then slowly but surely, like you were just saying, Liz, it creeps really slowly back in, and then the horrors start happening again. So so last November I stopped for good, and hopefully for good, and I'm loving it.
Great. Amazing.
Thanks.
Yeah. Perfect.
So for myself, I'm still like well early into this. I'm only 23 days into like knocking it on the head, and I guess everyone's
time.
Well, it feels like it, considering I'd probably drink like twice a week, like usually, it would just be the routine of we'd finish on the Friday, what our Friday would be, our shift pattern, and go to the pub and go, right, we're going to do it today. We're going to have 3 pints, bit of food, and go home. Never happens. It never does. And even if it did,
we all said that.
Yeah, and even if like the other person managed to do that, I'd then be like, I live on my own, so I go home. I'm like, well, I'll get some cans from the shop on the way, and then I come back and watch TV and just carry on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like to some people, that's fine. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of people have sort of asked me recently, like, something happened recently that like you've made this snap decision, because that's what it feels like to other people. But it's actually something that I think has been in the back of my mind for years.
Yeah, of course.
But I've always just felt obliged to accept drinks if you're offered to, the routine or if you know someone says, oh, do you want to have a catch up, and no one really thinks outside the box. It's always, we'll go have a beer or do this. Never like, oh, let's go and get, you know, croissant and coffee in the morning or whatever, and have a proper catch up. And that's the thing. I think that's where it keeps up. And I didn't realize for quite a while until, you know, those sort of towards the end, like the last time I drank, like a friend bought some beers round, they were just in the fridge, we weren't drinking whatever. And like the day after, it was like a Sunday night, I was like, oh, I'll just have one. And I've sat and I've drank all 6 just watching TV. It wasn't a lot of beer. But I woke up the morning after and I've gone, why did I do that? Like, it's, you know what I mean? If it's in the house and I can't leave it alone, so I was thinking, damn, this is actually becoming quite a problem. And you know, you don't have to hit rock bottom to wake up and do it. It's just
So I know that you've heard this story because I did an Instagram live with my dad, just because he's so wise. So I thought I'd put his knowledge on there. But he said the same thing. I mean, he was a binge drinker, like only ever drank beer, and was just very, very, very working class, and got pissed on a Friday with his mates, and that was all that if they weren't doing that, what else were they doing? But his last drink was he was drinking rum on an aeroplane from the one that he got from duty free, which he never drank rum, but he thought that if he bought a bottle of rum, he'd look more sophisticated than if he ordered a beer. So he got rum, and his last drink, he wasn't being like loud or like drunk and disorderly or whatever. The air hostess just said to him, like, I think you've had enough now, and took the bottle off him. And then he just had this like light bulb moment of like, and he's never touched a drink since. So what you were saying there, Dec, about like sitting and just having 6 bevies on a Sunday, like, although that's not the most outrageous thing you've ever done, it's like the penny just drops at different times for different people, doesn't it?
It's not that dramatic that, you know, it's like a shock. It's just sort of like,
it's so important that people know that. I'm all about that. I really want everyone to know that you don't have to be, you know, puking up as you arrive at work in order to go, I've got a problem. Or even it doesn't have to be a problem. That's the point, isn't it? It can just be, this isn't serving me. This isn't doing anything for me, and I'd like to stop.
So like just listen to what you guys are saying. There's like a common sort of, I guess, fact that is you all at one point literally said, okay, like, all right, that's it. Like, I'm gonna, like, enough's enough, right? But like, was it actually that simple? Because of course people are gonna be watching this thinking, oh well, just like anything else, just like, oh, I'm gonna go on a diet and I'm gonna give up sugar, I'm gonna give up carbs, I'm gonna do this, or, you know, is it that simple to say, okay, listen, I'm gonna stop drinking? If it is an addiction, if it is a habit, and it's something that, you know, you've been doing since the age of 14, right through, you know, does it require a little bit more than just the I'm gonna stop now?
I think one main thing for me is like everyone always tries to like see their own self-image, if that makes sense. You want to imagine the sort of man or woman you want to be and the things you want to achieve, and you have the goals and blah blah blah. And then I'd sort of had this naive belief that I am that person, I'm fun at parties, I'm this, that and the other. But then a few weeks later you'd hear these horror stories about it, and it'd be embarrassing, you'd be cringing, and you're going, well, hang on a minute, like that's not the person I'm wanting to like portray as myself. And I guess that for me was like a big factor. I 100% it started to get in the way of like sleeping pattern at work, or even just general like tiredness and attitude. And like my parents are both hardworking people, and I don't ever want to, especially the job I'm in, like I don't ever want to blow that out. Do you know what I mean? Just because of a few bad habits. And I guess things like that, like I didn't want it to ever scare me into doing it, but I just sort of, you know, you become a bit more self-aware and sort of check in with yourself.
How did you find those? Because you're sort of very close to the starting point, Dec. How do you find your first few days and then into weeks? What's it been like stopping?
So that first day was literally the night after the 6 beers, and I like my first video on my Instagram is like sort of explaining the process I went through that morning. I think I got out of bed at like 10, and I sat there, looked at his bottles on the side, and I was like genuinely upset. Like it was like, don't know, something triggered, and I messaged my mate you know, she's like my best friend, and basically said like, I think I'm doing this. And then as I was typing, I was going, no, I'm definitely doing this. Like,
Yeah.
and I've followed Katie on Instagram for quite a while. And I think I even remember like the 2018, you know, like the 3 months of being sober and stuff like that. And I remember, well, I know that subconsciously your page has had an effect over the years, and it's like sort of proven to me. And it's been sort of inspiring. And then I don't know, like I just went, you know what? No, sod it. And for me, making the statement, like rather than just having a conversation with myself, sitting there going, oh, I'm knocking on the head now, I'm not telling anyone.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that there's scenarios that would have happened already where I've gone, all right, okay. I would have gave in to my own little demon.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
because I made this massive, you know, some people say it's probably a bit dramatic, like, all right, mate, don't go on about it, you're only a week in. But I needed to do that.
That's I feel like that too.
And that followed by, you know, a message to my family through a group chat we've got, and you know, and even then the weekend before I was a little bit unreliable because I was hungover and stuff, and I just felt disappointing. And even they and my, you know, my dad just spoke to me since. He was like, I'm proud of you for doing it. And I've always said to your mum, like, I don't know how he gets in the states he does. You know, if your hangovers are that bad, if your drinking becomes that sort of scary, then why would you do it in the first place? And my dad noticed, you know, it's so early into it, but he's like, oh, it just kind of feels normal now, like already.
Right, that's amazing.
Accepting of you though, that's the beauty. That's so amazing. You're so lucky that he said that, because
100%.
Yeah, because that just means that they accept you, whatever you.
Yeah, regardless. Yeah.
Regardless. So that's.
Yeah.
And I think they know that, like, what's best, don't they, for your kids? So.
Yeah.
Totally.
If I can just reel it from the top, just based on a couple of things, right, and then we'll sort of like just move it forward to kind of reactions from friends, family, colleagues, and what people think after you sort of say, oh, I'm going to go sober, right? But if I can just bring it back to the start, right? So here you are, you know, the penny drops, then you say to yourself, okay, like, this is it, yeah? Obviously, there must be thousands, maybe even millions of people during the course of a year that would have that same penny drop moment, right? And they must say to themselves, okay, listen, this is what I'm going to do. And they go ahead and just as you were explaining that, like, you would say, okay, to your family, to your friends, whoever it is, okay, I'm gonna be sober now, etc., right? Now, you've made it 20, how many days now?
23
days. Okay. Now, for the individuals who make it to day 3 and fall off, right? What's some advice that you can give to an individual that can't seem to pass that first weekend of, as we say, you know, it's normal. It's the Friday night. You're working.
I think that first weekend is the hardest one, isn't it?
You know,
really
after work,
Yeah.
a drink on a Saturday night, a Sunday night, whatever it is, a drink. You're going out to dinner. What you're gonna have, you know?
I think for me the main sort of piece of advice I would give to somebody who's in that situation, who's got to day 3 and then just gone, I'm gonna have a drink, and then regrets it, is number 1 is a blip. That doesn't mean you have to now go back to your previous life of drinking. You can totally start again day 1 tomorrow. So it doesn't have to be, you know, because especially with people who drink a lot, we tend to be quite all or nothing people. So the tendency is to say, right, well, that's it now, I've screwed it, so I'm done. But actually you can just start again. And I think the main thing, and AA says this and everyone says this, I don't love everything about AA at all, but they do push this whole thing of one day at a time. And that really got me through those first couple of weeks, that every day I would wake up and I would just make that promise to myself, I'm not drinking today for the next 12 hours, which is kind of all you really got awake, 16 hours. I'm not drinking. And if you can just say that every day, then you mustn't think forward to even the weekend, or what will I do for birthdays? How will I be on a holiday? Don't think about that stuff. You've got to take it one day at a time. And I just think that's got to be the golden rule.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think the thought of forever is absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
And like, I think I was 23 when I first did 3 months sober, and like,
Yeah.
as a 23-year-old, you think, oh my God, how am I ever gonna like date or make friends or like without alcohol? It's terrifying. So that one day at a time, that one day at a time has helped me in more ways than just alcohol. Like, it's helped me.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah, when I feel anxious or low or overwhelmed or whatever, sometimes I'm like, just get through the hour. Like, because life is really, really hard, especially in early sobriety. And I think my advice for somebody who keeps getting to day 3 and failing, would be to obviously pick yourself back up and continue, like you just said. But to, this is gonna, obviously, obviously I'm saying this with sensitivity, but to have a bit of grit. Because not every day in sobriety is easy. Not every day is lovely. Most days are really nice, but some days are shit, regardless of whether you drink alcohol or not.
Of course.
So you just got to have a bit of grit about you, and know that, because I think sometimes, and I did it myself. Like, I did so many sober Octobers and dry Jans, and then caved by weekend 2. Like, I've done it more times than
even. So Katie, even just touching on that very quickly, right? You know, you have, again, as you said, like the sober, like dry Jan or sober October and stuff like that, right? So you've got like these key dates that you do. Like, what is the main purpose of those days? You know, are those days so that people can maybe fall into a pattern of not drinking, then hopefully continue?
I think, I think that they're really good. I love the dry Jan. I just noticed the other day that dry July is a thing. I didn't even know dry July was a thing, but apparently it is. So I mean, it rhymes the most, so I don't know why I didn't know that. But that's a really good thing. I get it, but I think that the attitude of going into a dry July or a dry Jan or whatever has to be, I want to get the most out of this month and like appreciate the sobriety and the new experience, rather than I've just got to get to Feb. I've just got to get to because
the reason I asked that, because I know a few people. I've had colleagues, I've had friends who would literally say that, like, they're going dry for Jan, and then come Feb, you know, they're happy to continue like excessively drinking after that, you know.
I think for me that is because they haven't. This is why I call my thing the alcohol spell, because it felt to me like I'd broken a spell when I stopped drinking. And I think that when people get to the end of a month of not drinking and then go woohoo and then start drinking again, it's because they didn't change their mindset.
Right. Okay. They just wanted to get through.
Every
they saw
day
it as a challenge.
I've done it. I've done that. Phew, now I can go back. And they didn't change their thinking. They're still under the spell of believing that it's normal to drink alcohol and it's part of your life and it's an essential item like food. And until you start to rethink that, then you will always return to it, because you'll see it as something that you should be doing.
I wish that alongside the Dry July campaigns and stuff, that there was more like marketing around, use the month to educate yourself about alcohol.
Good point.
I bet you that the people that come into the months following their dry spells, their drinking behaviors would change because they're educated, but nobody knows, so they just think, oh, I'll just go back to my usual social.
I actually think that like dry January is more seen as a way of detoxing after a heavy Christmas and New Year and a financial thing. Like a lot of people will go, oh, I've eaten and drank a lot around Christmas and this, so I'll have a month, get back to my weight. And, you know, everyone's a little bit tight after Christmas as well. And they're doing the dry January not actually because they want to stop alcohol. It's just that a lot of people are doing it's a challenge, and they think that they probably will drop a lot of weight and save some money, but they're not. Like Katie just said, they're not looking at all the other benefits that come with it as well.
Is that maybe because, as you rightfully said before, Katie, as well, like that they probably don't know the benefits. So because if you've grown up in a society that from day one, whether or not you're drinking at the age of 6, 7, 8, or 9, you're seeing it. So as you said, Deck, earlier, you know, you will go to birthday parties and there will be some form of alcohol beverage there to celebrate, or at a barbecue, you know, and you're right, there are the particular alcohol types that are associated to different events. So whether it's christenings, whether it's birthdays or weddings or whatever it is, right, there is alcohol there. So you've grown up, you've seen it, and you almost can't wait for the day that you can indulge in it.
Yeah.
But in your head already, it's already normal, you know. So
we're training our children to drink in a way, aren't we?
So when you talk about benefits, like, do people know what the benefits are of not drinking, or, you know, or do they just, as you said, do dry Jan just to say, well, oof, I was really bad over Christmas, like, you know, I really overindulged, so let me hit the gym in January and let me stop drinking as well.
I think I've always been like more privy to the benefits of being sober, and I don't just mean losing a bit of weight and like saving a bit of money, because obviously my dad is sober, so we've got a very sober family. We've always done sober holidays, sober activities, because not only is my dad sober, but because he is sober, he doesn't have a lot of friends that are big drinkers, so it means that even our family friends are sober, and it goes on like that. So that's why I feel so lucky to have had that, because
Have we lost her?
Maybe.
Yeah. Could you guess what she was about to say?
Is she back?
She back.
Yep.
Do you know, can you hear me? Oh no.
Yeah.
No, wait,
You're back.
Okay, where was I up to?
You were saying that you even had sober holidays because you got loads of extended family friends who are sober.
Thanks. So I just said that I feel lucky to have had that education, which is, I don't feel like if I'd have not had that, I wouldn't have stopped so young.
Right.
Because I wouldn't have known all the benefits, and I would have just carried on in that cycle of booze and everything, and because there's nothing else to do. But that's why I made the Instagram, to show and share that you can be young and not drink.
Sure.
Yeah, it's not just it's not just stopping alcohol. You're actually forcing yourself to think out the box and find other things to do, and get, you know, break that routine. Like I've had it where, like, I'd nip round to friends in the morning, drive my way home. My usual routine would be to ring my mate, see what he's doing, see if he wants a couple at the pub. And I've come back and done, to some people probably quite boring, I'd like wash my car or even just tidy up, right? But I just made sure I just kept myself busy, like, all the time. And you know, a lot of it kind of drags, like, God, I actually really want a beer. But then by the time you get back to that Monday morning, you think, wow, I've been so productive. And it's almost like it's not just, you know, stopping drinking. There's loads of other things that start falling under it. Like, I'm definitely eating better. I'm starting to get the urge to exercise. Like, my weight has already dropped. I'm clear in my mind when I'm speaking to people, or I'm more productive. I'm not as tired at work, and I don't know. It is a lifestyle change, not just stopping alcohol. I think
I saw on your feed earlier, Dec, that you said about you were biking up the coast.
That's
that, and you said that was something that, had you been doing that before, you would have got lashed the night before, and 100%. You know, it would have been a totally different experience. So
I actually I don't know if it was last year or year before, me and the guys I worked with, we were going to Benidorm, right? And it was the night before. I was all packed. I just finished work, and I was like, well, I'm gonna, like, I'll go have 3 in the pub ready, because I'll sleep better. I'll be able to get up at 6 for the bus, whatever. I ended up in the lock-in at the pub, absolutely smashed, because I was so excited to go that I just couldn't stop. And
all night you were saying to everyone, I've got to be up in 2 hours.
Yeah, I've got to go. Like, it's like, yeah, exactly. And it's ridiculous. Like, but there's photos of me literally throwing up on the way to the airport, getting to the airport, and someone going, "Oh, I'll get a pint down here, that'll sort you out."
Wow.
And that was just the consistency of the whole weekend, like the whole weekend there. And I came back and I needed a holiday from the holiday. It was brutal. I've never felt, I wanted my mum. Like, honestly, it was so bad. Like,
bless you. Yeah, it's ridiculous. The the lifestyle change, I think, is a major thing that people just don't realise until you, and that's why so many people, when they do become, when they do give up alcohol, they do go onto Instagram and start preaching about it, because they're going, guys, this is so good. Why are we not all doing this? Because it is such a revelation, isn't it?
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the reaction from individuals. So reaction from your family, friends, colleagues, from the wider world, so the social media world, right? Let's talk about responses that you may have had to the news of, oh, I'm going sober, or I am sober, because I'm sure there's both positive and negative, and the in-betweens as well. So what some of your sort of experiences with I'm now sober?
I think I've kind of had, I've been sober for over 2 years, and I've had a real big range of reactions. But the one that I think is the trickiest to sort of navigate is with your close circle of friends,
right?
The ones that you've been used to drinking with,
right?
Because they know you, they've seen you, they've been with you, and I kind of like compare it to being everyone's in a boat together, and you've been in this boat together, and you're all in it together, you're a team, and then suddenly you get up and jump out and swim away.
Right. Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of how it felt. It's like, you know, well, where are you going? So it's like a sense of abandonment. And I think a lot of people say anyone who has a problem with your stopping alcohol must have a problem with their own drinking. And I think that's a bit black and white. I don't feel that's entirely true. I think back to myself when I was a drinker, and if any of my friends had stopped drinking, I would have handled it really badly.
Really?
I would have just been like, you know, so you're just not going to have fun anymore, is that it? You know, I just would have been.
You just lost your drinking partner as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what it is, isn't it? And I think that's the hardest relationship but for me, you know, for anyone who's early on in this, you know, and maybe that you're going to sort of have a bit of this, it's not, don't worry about it. It does even itself out, because those people who matter, you know, they won't mind, and the people who mind don't matter.
Right.
You know, and you find your people, and the people who really you can count on will still be there. My friendship group is still the same, mostly 2 years on. So it, you know, it does work out.
Yeah, my drinking buddy, genuinely, it was like a really bad breakup. It was so like, you know, I sent a message, and I even was trying to be like sensible. I was like, I think I'm gonna stop drinking. Like, I was being really like polite, and then it was kind of awkward for like a few days. It's like, well, you're not going to drink with me anymore. I also don't like chilling with me. I'm like, no, that's not what it is, man. We just got to do other stuff. And yeah, it's funny. That was like the hardest one to get, because I was genuinely like almost getting a bit upset and frustrated. Like, dude, can't you see this is actually really what I want to do, and actually probably benefit us both. And don't get me wrong, it's cool now, but like it was awkward. I thought I was going to lose a good friend over it.
Isn't that crazy? It's such a strange thing, you know. Anyone else, if you said to somebody, you know, you had an issue with a drug, and you said, I've given that up, that people would, I've given up crack, people would be like, oh, how are we going to have fun? You know, it would be fine, that's what you choose. It's so different with alcohol, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is exactly what you said though before, isn't it? It's people have become familiar with who they drink with, and a lot of people have a different circle of friends. So this is my drinking friend, these are my dinner date friends, these are my movie friends, and so forth, right? And a lot of the times when people do drink to get drunk or drink in excess, they, you know, especially if they find someone, you know, which probably that you were that person for him who would match him drink for drink, who would, if he says, let's go to another pub, you won't be the one that, oh, no, let's go. You're like, yeah,
I feel obliged.
Yeah, exactly. So for him, he's definitely thinking, where the hell am I going to find another deck like that? Do you know what I mean? or then maybe a little bit of you know, self-searching for him, as in like, wait, does that mean I need to stop drinking now? Then I don't. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's definitely had a positive effect already on a lot of people around me. Like, it's actually, and that makes me now feel more responsible to carry it on further as well.
Right.
Yeah. So can you continue? I guess this is the question for all of you. And it's actually pretty nice that you're all in different stages at the moment. So can you continue to go to the pub, you know, go to those restaurants, go on those nights out without drinking because you've made up your mind? Is there a safe sort of point? Is there like a 6-month point that you give yourself and say, all right, listen, I'm not going to associate myself. I'm not going to, because they call this, you know, the sort of leading yourself into temptation, knowing that you may not necessarily be strong enough, or like, how does it work, you know?
I actually went straight away. Like, in hindsight, it's a bit mad really, but I
Yeah.
literally, I literally had been sober for like, honestly, like a week and I was out because I was so like hell bent on like it not affecting my life. I didn't want it to isolate me any more than it already sort of did. So I was adamant that I would like go on nights out and go to clubs till like 3 a.m. and drink water or drink so much Red Bull that you think you're gonna have a heart attack. But then I always went back to drinking, or like I'd always drink at the end of the night, or a couple of things happened that I was just like, why are you doing this? So this time around, I know my limits now, and I know it's trial and error, but I do love, like, I love getting dolled up. I love going out with girls. Like, I love like wearing heels and dresses and putting makeup on, and that's what I've always been like. So why should I change that just because I don't drink? So I do go out with the girls, but I drive and I drink alcohol-free options. They're not for everybody, but they are for me. I like them. Just make sure I eat a lot so that I'm not hungry, because that can trigger me. And I nap because they're usually later nights as well. And then I just drive home whenever I'm ready. And I mean, some nights I've been out for an hour, 2 hours, but then other nights I've been out for 6 hours. So it just depends really on the vibe and the people and where we are and stuff. But I enjoy it personally, and so far on this time around, this 8 months, I've not felt like it's been a problem, so it's been good.
My first experience of like going out socializing, it was the first meal like since the lockdown. It was for my sister's birthday, and I clocked it straight away. They had 0 Heineken, and I was thinking, oh, see what this is going to be like. And it was genuinely actually quite nice, ice cold. Still had the exact same feeling as what I would if I was having that, you know, the traditional pint. And it was good because I still got to, you know, chink glasses with people and celebrate my sister's birthday. And that was one thing that helped massively. We had like a bit of a garden party a few days later, and those people started to, you know, slowly get a little bit more tipsy, whatever. In the book I read, it's called like the trapdoor method. You just, something would trick and you go, right, I gotta go now. And if you sort of explain that prior, people are fine. You know, you just get out going and you go do something else. And they're 2 techniques for me that have worked, like the 0 beers and just, you know, being able to say I want to go and going when you want. That's 2 things that help massively.
That's so true. And because you can drive because you're not drinking, you can.
Which is
such a joy, isn't it?
Being able to give people lifts and stuff.
I think it's really interesting that, you know, it is, as you guys mentioned, it is a life-changing sort of situation when you decide not to drink, and it's only life-changing because the life that is in front of us, or the life that we're presented with, is one where drinking is normal, isn't it? It's everywhere. It's in your home, it's in your offices, it's everywhere. So to break that trend is a big thing. And, you know, I guess the reason why I even was so interested in having this conversation, because I think I was in another chat with Katie, and she mentioned a few things, and I thought, let me go into a page a little bit more in depth and see what this is about. And then it led me on to other people. Then I saw Dex and so forth, and then I came across yours, Liz, and I was like, do you know what? It's an amazing thing to say, listen, something that is, like, we can't even say it seems normal, like it is normal, you know. Something that is so ingrained in our society that you're going to go contrary to it and stick to it, and then try and show the benefits to other individuals. Because unfortunately, I do believe that we do have individuals who that you mentioned before, like, can handle their drink, you know, or
Yeah.
again, sometimes, and that can be a little bit black and white as well, because can handle your drink. I've heard people say, "Don't worry, I can handle my drink," and I see them like, you
Yeah.
Maybe you can't.
you like you can't handle it. If you, I don't want to see you not being able to handle your drink, because,
Yeah.
because this is
If
pretty
that's
bad.
you handling it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I think it's definitely something that is of more need, really.
Yeah.
And you know, even on,
It's unusual, isn't it, to meet people who don't drink, who choose not
it
to.
is,
It's
and
still not the normal.
you'll get people say, "Well, what's the big deal? Like, so what if you stop drinking? Like, go away. Like, we don't care. Why are you coming on Instagram? Why are you coming on Facebook? Why are you going all these
Yeah.
platforms? You know, preaching, and like, are you rubbing it in our
I
faces?"
think
Or
those types of people who say, "Oh, what are you doing that for?" Like, they've clearly not got an issue with alcohol because they don't understand how it feels to go sober. So there's like two different types of non-drinkers: non-drinkers that have an issue, or non-drinkers that don't have an issue, and then they can't relate.
sure,
So people that don't drink for, say, religious reasons have different thought patterns and processes and about alcohol than people that don't do it because they've had mental health issues.
of course,
So
yeah.
obviously it's different.
Yeah, everyone has their own story, don't they?
Yeah.
I think people,
find their own community.
I think people also assume that, like, because you're making the decision to go sober, you're then anti-alcohol, like, and you're judging everyone that's still going to do it, and that's also not the case. Like, I love alcohol. I love that there's so much variety. I love I do like the culture behind it, the celebratory factors and the different techniques of making stuff. And I genuinely love the taste of beer, but it, you know, and I wish I could have got it in control and stuff. But I guess my point is, it's trying to reassure people that you're not judging them for carrying on, and you still actually want them to, if you, even if you can see that they can handle it and it's all good. Like, it's hard to explain, but I'm not anti-alcohol. Like,
I totally agree with you. When you say you love alcohol, do you feel that you're missing out on anything by not drinking?
No.
Open question.
Yeah, no, not in that sense. Like, well, yeah, love was probably a strong word. Like,
I get it. I felt like that really for my first sort of 4 months. I was still like, if I could drink, I would. But I'm just interested to sort of see how you feel about that.
Yeah. I think it's still, like, it still has its benefits to, like, many things. Like, if you can have two, if you can get a bit confident, you probably have a good night and you go home not have a hangover. Sound. And for men especially, like, you know, the whole routine of going for a couple of beers on that Friday night might be that there's something that's bothered you. You want to talk about something that's affecting you at home. And, you know, we're not old women that are going to sit and have a cup of tea and get it out. It sometimes takes that little bit of Dutch courage that you then open up and whatever. And for those sort of scenarios, works completely. Like, it's helped me so much. But it's then the grey side. Like,
I hear that totally. And I think the reason I feel that we would all be better without alcohol. So I'm not anti anyone drinking, and very, very much not judging anyone for drinking. But if I had a magic wand, I would get rid of alcohol. And the reason I would is because actually that Dutch courage is an illusion. Because actually, as much as it gives, it takes tenfold what it's given you. In your self-esteem, in your self-respect, in all of those things that we've touched on. And I think actually what you get when you don't drink is a real sense of who you are in reality in this space. And it gives you the ability to deal with things that you didn't think you could deal with. It to use the Carlsberg or the Carling analogy, you know, reality reaches places that, you know, it won't reach if you're drinking. You are actually able to be the best version of yourself.
And that's what people have to learn when they go sober.
That's you're learning to be yourself without that crutch, and that's amazing.
I was looking at this study just before we sort of give our final points and wrap up. I was actually looking at this study that you know, that was carried out where individuals believed that they were, you know, on a night out, they believed that they were drinking alcohol when actually it was alcohol-free substance, right? And the way that they were behaving was as though they were intoxicated, right?
Yeah.
They were acting like they would do if they were drinking. And at the end of this experiment, it was so embarrassing for these individuals because they genuinely believed like they couldn't walk in a straight line. They genuinely believed that they had to slur their words. The more they drank, they believed that they were just getting like more drunk, but really and truly, they definitely weren't, because there was no alcohol in there at all. So I think, again, it is, I hear what you say about the whole illusion thing. I hear, again, what Deck's saying about the fact that, you know, alcohol has unfortunately created this this scene of, in order for us to, you know, be brave, or in order for us to get our emotions out there, we need to have a drink first. Because all the time, right, it's like, okay, I'm about to give a speech, I'm so nervous, let me have a drink and settle my nerves. Okay, I'm tired, let me have a drink. And there's so many reasons why you say you want to, but really and truly, it's a lot of it is stem from the fact that I believe there isn't much alternative, or there are alternatives but they're not known, if that makes sense. So of course, now again, if we have to touch on like mental health and men's mental health, and you were saying about men not sitting down having a cup of tea and talking like sort of old women words and whatnot, where actually there's now people saying actually men need to do that. They need, you need to know that it's okay. Like I can say that, look, listen, I'm gonna come around, stick the kettle on, like we'll stick a film on, have a cup of tea and talk. Now, knowing that that's okay, it's almost, do you know what I mean? It's like knowing that that's okay allows you to then be like, okay, cool, right, Jay's coming around. I can tell him, look, listen, I've had a hard week, I'm thinking about leaving my job, or whatever the case is, and you'll end up sort of dishing it all out. So I think it depends on which direction our society goes in. You know, like obviously now it's becoming a little bit more, you know, people are a little bit more conscious of the fact that, you know, mental health has a lot to do with I guess us as a society and how we do things.
And having permission to express yourself and to say, I don't feel okay, and for that to be okay. I think that alcohol masks all of that for all in ourselves as well. And to be able to be in touch with that is sounds scary, but as everyone here knows, is incredibly giving as well. And I think that's what you get.
What about for those individuals who drink because they you know, because it makes them feel better, because they're going through a tough time and they just want to forget, they just want to get out of it?
I think that that's really dangerous, because like you just said then, Liz, it's all fake. So like it might make you feel relaxed for a bit, maybe like you were saying, 2 or 3 drinks, and like you feel a bit like the dopamine's there and you feel all relaxed. Or if you feel like you want to speak to your mate and you need a bit of confidence, or if you're going on a date and you need a bit of confidence, it's actually not true. So that's why it becomes so addictive, because you think that drink made you confident, but really it didn't. You did that anyway, and if you didn't take that, okay, if you might have been, I think that you still have those awkward moments and those little like bumps in the road when you are drinking, but you just don't see them because you don't care, because you're drunk. Actually, human beings connecting in person all the time, it happens all the time, even when you're drunk. I mean, like, how many conversations have you had drunk that you're like slurring your words or like trip over your tongue or whatever, but you're not like, oh my god, so embarrassing, because you're cut and you're drunk and you don't care. So I think you're more self-aware when you're sober, so you just notice things more, which can make you make you self-conscious. But after a while of being sober, like Liz just said, like I've never felt more comfortable in myself, because I know who I am, I know who I like, I certainly know who I don't like, and that just makes life so much easier. And that those are the pros of sobriety that don't get spoken about enough. Like, it's what happens in your mind, and that's what I was saying, going way back at the start of the conversation about dry Jan. I wish that those were more promoted for that reason.
I think, like you were saying, Jermaine, as well, is like when if people believe in that, you know, they're going through a rough time and that's what makes them feel better, maybe they need to like almost check in with themselves and actually think about if it is, because I think sometimes, I know I had it where it was actually almost a form of self-harm. It's like going through a breakup and putting on the sad songs, you actually wallow in yourself, and you get, you know, you almost upset yourself further. Whereas actually, if you try and just do the alternative, try and cut it out, even look up better ways to do it, rather than, like you say, rather than actually, you know, going down that route. I think it would have a positive, and just give it a chance, really. I think this.
Try it.
When you stop drinking, everything becomes clearer anyway. So through stopping drinking, you'll probably find that most of your problems that you're drinking to solve will disappear.
So
true. That's very true. I think what we'll do is, if you guys would be so kind to just, I guess, in a few sentences, leave the viewers, leave each and every one of us with some advice. You know, I think that will be beneficial, because sometimes it's not about the numbers game, is it? It's not about trying to, as you said, Liz, like, if you could and you had a wand, and you would change, like, no alcohol, end of. But sometimes in this game, it's, even if it's one or two individuals who say, do you know what, I'm going to give up alcohol because I know I need to, because of X, Y, and Z, then sometimes that's enough, isn't it? Because then they can then, you know, go and tell their story, and then inspire another 2 or 3 people. And before you know it, there's a wide number. So yeah, if you guys want to sort of just take turns and just leave us with sort of your closing remarks.
I'll start off. I would say that you need to listen to the little voice in your mind that has said to you, I think you maybe need to deal with this. When you first hear that voice, just give it some airtime. And the best way to give it airtime is to cut out alcohol and just sit with it and allow that voice to grow and see where it takes you. It's, you know, it's obviously there for a reason. You've got to start to listen to that intuition and go with it. And that's what I did. And 2 years later, I'm so much happier. I can't even tell you, my life is so much better just because I let that little voice have a bit of air. And I think that's what you've got to do. Don't shut that down. Pay attention, because it's there for a reason.
That's perfect.
I think I would say to don't beat yourself up. If you feel like you want to, you can. You so can. And it sounds cliche, but just take it a day at a time. Be nice to yourself. Eat chocolate. Go on loads of long walks. And just take it easy, because it's really, really bloody hard, but it'll be the best thing that you ever do. And it's only the beginning. Like, the best is yet to come.
Yeah, I think the only thing I can probably advise, especially like early on into this, is rather than seeing it as like a negative, as you got to blink on, I've just got to not drink, and you're not looking at any alcohol or whatever. Try and take them away and look at all the other stuff you could be doing and what else there actually is. Because if you see it as a negative, it's going to end badly. Like, you got to see it as an opportunity. It's a door open to go and find other things to do and see what else there is. Because if you reflect on your life and, you know, you're going, oh, I'm just drinking twice a week, I'm not really doing anything, then you're not going to do anything. Do you know what I mean? You need to get out and actually look what else there is to do.
Yeah. I agree.
That's very true. Honestly, I think all those things sort of combine in one is enough to give someone sort of food for thought, isn't it? Honestly, like, the combination of opinions and stories tonight's been absolutely amazing. Again, this is definitely not a, oh my gosh, you're a horrible person for drinking alcohol, look at me, you know, but it's more of a, if I can do it, trust me, you can do it too. Because as you guys have said, like, you know, you could 100% continued your journey of binge drinking. And I'm sure that there's some stories that you didn't share tonight because they were too embarrassing or too.
maybe another time.
So many. We need a whole series to go through.
It's such a broad topic. But I think what I'd like to do is, based on this conversation, depending on what people have to say, sort of maybe touch a little bit more on maybe some of the more intricate nitty-gritty kind of kind of things, because of course this is a massive topic, isn't it? But I think you guys have done absolutely well for sticking with the broadness of it, and making it, I guess, bite-sized enough to understand. So of course I would definitely say that support is key. Sometimes you may not be strong enough to do something on your own, and this is why the likes of your pages on your social media platforms are, one, necessary, and two, just, sometimes you do just scroll through, and if if I don't know if this ever happens to you, but you scroll through and you'll be like, oh, something just like tells you just stop, and you read it and you're like, yeah, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like I've never looked at this person's sort of page before, but yeah, no. And then you click onto that person's page and you read more and you read more. So again, your profiles are definitely needed. So what I'm going to do is, for all those who want to get in contact with you guys, and then connect with the whole sober community, I will put your details in the description. But just for the sake of audio, do you just want to say what your sort of Instagram handles are, if that's the one that you want to give?
Yeah, I'm the alcohol spell on Instagram. The alcohol spell.
Yeah.
Mine is 20 something, no G, knock the G off. 20 something sober. Love it.
Mine is sober_deck.
There we go, nice and easy. Definitely a massive thank you for joining me on this episode of Jay's Big Chat. It's been nothing but a pleasure having you guys. Thank you very much once again.
Thanks for having us, Jay.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Guys.